I certainly enjoyed Rebecca Skloot's book, and I do appreciate her statement that the areas she's looking at certainly need greater discussion than what this book does. Because, for example, with regard to the research that I do on race and the body, I mean, we learn about the Tuskegee syphilis experiment in this text a little bit. But I must say that I'm not concerned that the issue of consent was not a legal question in 1951 when tissue cells were taken from Mrs. Lax's cervix, because this is part of a long history of black people's bodies, poor people's bodies being used to further scientific inquiry. And not just scientific inquiry, but black people didn't have ownership of their bodies under slavery. And so this is a part of, a long history of the ways in which black bodies have been used. And I brought this book, Killing the Black Body, and though, we have a lot of readers here. So there's this wonderful book that I use in a course that I'm teaching at the moment, Black Women in Politics of the Body. And it's Killing the Black Body, Race, Reproduction, and the Meaning of Liberty by law professor Dorothy Roberts. And she talks about how we can look at the fact that black women did not have control over their bodies under enslavement as the first example of reproductive injustice in this country. And she discusses how black women were used as not only reproducers, but also producers. Reproducers of the slave population, the labor force, but also laborers, producing labor, on those plantations. And she gives this rich history that goes all the way to more contemporary times with how black women on welfare are coerced into getting Norplant by medical professionals, welfare workers, etc., etc. So this issue of consent, again, that wasn't a big issue for me as I was reading the book, because we've had things happen in our nation's history when, it wasn't against the law. It wasn't against the law in 1800, to own a slave. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't right. So yes, there was no issue of consent in 1951. There's still no consent around gathering someone's tissue. But that still doesn't mean that it's not right. And I certainly understand the importance of furthering science. But we have to think about why do these things always happen to the people who are the most disadvantaged? And those are the kinds of issues that I grappled with in my work, and also when I read this text, because I imagine this would not happen to Donald Trump. And I'll end there.